Hello, I am Zahir Alam. Welcome you all on Frankly Speaking. Our today's guest is Dr. Durga Prasad Paudyal. He is the Director General of Center on Integrated Rural Development for Asia and the Pacific, CIRDAP, which headquarters in Dhaka. CIRDAP is an organization of 14 countries which established in 1979. Bangladesh is the host of CIRDAP. Dr. Durga Prasad Paudyal is Masters in Social Planning from UK and PhD in Local Level Planning from Netherlands. Welcome, Dr. Durga Prasad Paudyal on Frankly Speaking.
Thank you, Mr.
We know that you have been staying in Bangladesh as a Director General of CIRDAP. And would you please tell us, first of all, briefly about the programs and activities of the CIRDAP around the member countries, especially in Bangladesh?
Well, let me briefly introduce about CIRDAP and how it was established in Bangladesh. CIRDAP is an intergovernmental regional organization. It has 14 countries. You have already said it. There was an international conference on agrarian reform and rural development in 1978, which is very well known as a WACARD. As a follow-up of the WACARD conference, they thought that there is a need for a regional level.
Where it was initiated?
It was held in Rome. And all the countries in the world had attended.
In Europe, actually.
From Bangladesh. Also attended, and at that time in the WACARD had a very comprehensive program for agrarian reform and rural development for developing the capacity and productivity and poverty reduction and all these things. So at that time they thought that they also need a regional level organization like CIRDAP to help the member countries for
where from the idea first mooted?
CIRDAP. It was actually mooted in this WACARD conference. That WACARD conference.
From the countries from this region?
From this region also. They had thought of 4 regional level organizations. One in Asia Pacific region, one in Africa, one in South America, and one in the Middle East. CIRDAP was established and it is functioning. CIRDAP Africa was established, but it died some times ago. The next 2 were not established at all. So the idea
CIRDAP is a very successful model.
Very successful. So it was actually started in 1979, and it is working in the areas of rural development. It is basically, it has the main objective of CIRDAP is to promote national action and regional cooperation and provide servicing to the rural development policies of CIRDAP member countries. So it has been doing a number of research works, action research work, pilot projects, and capacity building training programs, and we also have the linkage with information and communication. We produce a number of publications, including professional journal on rural development.
You're basically working on intergovernmental approach.
Absolutely, we are working at the intergovernmental approach and at the policy level. Mostly on exchanging ideas, experiences, expertise, developing human resources, and developing capacities for the member countries. These sort of things we do.
So we heard that the last ministerial meeting of CIRDAP was held in Manila, Philippines, and the next ministerial meeting will be held, scheduled to be held in Dhaka in 2009. What are the preparations of the conference?
Okay, let me explain a little bit about our policy making process. We have 3 policy making bodies. One is called the Governing Council, which is the highest body, which is attended by the ministers.
Headed by the ministers.
Which are represented from each countries by the ministers.
Any particular ministries or no?
It's a Ministry of Rural Development or related to rural. There are a number of countries which do not have the rural development ministries.
In Bangladesh, it is represented by the LGRD, local government rural development.
And for example, in Indonesia, it is represented by the Ministry of Home, because Ministry of Home looks after the rural development in Indonesia. So that is the Governing Council. We have Executive Committee. That is represented by the secretaries level. That is the more policy level functionary type. And we have another body called Technical Committee, which is a professional body. We are going to have our professional bodies meeting this month in Thailand. Now coming back to the Manila meeting, that was the regular ministerial meeting. That is the regular Governing Council, and Executive Committee meeting was also there.
Bangladesh minister also attended.
Bangladesh ministers and Bangladesh secretary was also attended.
The advisor Anwarul Karim.
Anwarul Iqbal.
Anwarul Iqbal was attended.
Yeah, he attended. And we had another feature that we have added from 2005 is the regional level policy dialogue. And we also had this regional level policy dialogue in Manila. And this time, the topic of the policy dialogue was agrarian reform and rural development.
Agrarian reform.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was the policy dialogue which the both ministers and secretaries had attended. Now, one of the important decisions the Manila meeting had taken is that CIRDAP was established in 1979 in a different policy context. Now, after 30 years down the line, the whole policies has been changed.
Yeah.
Now, what are the changes made? First is that in the rural development sector, there are a number of new players has come.
Okay.
For example, NGOs, for example, microfinance institutions, and at the regional level also, there are a number of new players has come. For example, SAARC, ASEAN, BEMSTEC, and so many.
So many.
So, first is so many new players. How to
So, do you think these organizations are supportive to the CIRDAP programs?
Absolutely, they are supportive. But policy level, how to integrate the several different players working in the areas of rural development.
Okay.
That is question number one.
Defining their territory and characteristics.
Defining their and also CIRDAPs. Okay. How CIRDAPs should have linkage with all these things and where CIRDAPs should stand. The other thing is that as a result of the rapid economic development in several countries, the inequality has widened very much. Inequality between regions, inequality between groups, inequality of different communities, it has widened so much. So how shall we go?
Especially in the Asian countries?
Absolutely. And not only here, it is a global phenomenon, but we can see here very vividly that the inequality has grown up very much. And there are, it is likely that it will grow further.
So do you think that the rural development programs are not moving on its expected pace?
No, it is moving, but when the development takes place, a new dimension will come. Then you will have to address that. Okay. Then once you address that, then the next dimension will come. So it is not a kind of as if you can reach to the last. No, you will have to face this kind of complexity and devise new policies. Unending journey. So that was another reason that why you were working for the 2009 meeting. The another thing that was very important was that what should be the members' coverage of CIRDAP, because in 1979, there are a number of countries attended in the creation of CIRDAP, including China, Japan, Korea,
so why they are left out later?
Australia.
Are they left out later?
They are not left out, but they did not join CIRDAP later on.
Okay.
Yeah, that was their choice. But at that time, they had also attended the meeting. They had also thought that we should join. But later on, they did not. So we have to review the whole process, and perhaps we should bring them in the board, because unless we learn the rapid development of Korea, China, Japan, all this taking place.
As an individual observer or
no, we are thinking to bring them as a members of CIRDAP. Full members of CIRDAP. So we are thinking that in 2009, the size of CIRDAP, the size of his program, the coverage of CIRDAP could be quite big. Okay. So as a result of expansion and also as a result of the change of its scope, CIRDAP, the whole organizational structure will be different. That's what we are thinking. Now, your question was what we are doing. We are doing two things now. First is that the government of Bangladesh has given us some amount of money, about 16 crores of taka, for the construction of International Conference Center in CIRDAP. Okay. We are immediately going to start the construction process where the ministerial level meeting will be hosted.
In 2009?
In 2009. So we may be able to complete that building by 2009. That is the hardware part of it. Okay.
So is it full and total contributions made from Bangladesh government?
Yes, because the Bangladeshi, it will be owned by the government of Bangladesh. So the hardware part is provided by government, but some of the software parts inside, decoration structure, other countries will also contribute and cooperate, because it's a kind of a joint ownership of different countries, and they have already expressed their support in the ministerial meeting. The other thing that we are doing now is we are now initiating a country-level review. What was the rural development policy in 1979, and what is the policy now? So that we can take stock of the country-level experiences and issues. Then we can prepare the policy papers for 2009 meeting. Okay. That what should be the rural development policy in the 21st century. what was in 79 context and what is the context now. So we will be changing the context and then policy.
So still you don't have any long-term programs or long-term vision for the 21st century?
Well, the vision for CIRDAP is to have the coordination, to have this regional cooperation among countries, learning from each other, because this is very important that, rural development is a very broad subject. Yeah. So there are so many experiments and experiences from different countries. So CIRDAP is a mechanism of, bringing all the 14 sovereign countries together, learning from each other, discussing the issues, so that sort of things. But what we are doing now is to taking stock of the country's level experience, that what happened in the last 30 years and what new dimension should be added in CIRDAP. So that is the thing we will be doing.
You said so CIRDAP is a policy-making
policy level.
Policy level,
yes.
And it represented by the policymakers, experts, academicians. But in your evaluation, what are the components that's most important, especially in Bangladesh, for rural development? Which are the issues you would like to emphasize on most?
Well, actually, if you see the face of rural development, we see, I'll give you one or two examples. One, we see that a lot of people coming to the cities.
Yeah. Migration.
Why they come to the cities?
For employment, basically.
Because there is no employment in the areas. Yeah. There is no security in the rural areas. There is no, livelihood opportunities in the rural areas. So, but the cities cannot absorb so much of people. Cities also limitations, and the people who are coming to the cities, they are coming here without any, without any coping capacities. They can't cope with the cities, so they will be landed in the slums with skill.
Okay. We are talking to Dr. Durga Prasad Paudyal. Dr. Paudyal, you were mentioning some of the components and which are the points going to emphasis on in terms of rural development, especially in the context of Bangladesh.
And I was mentioning that if we could generate more and more employment opportunities in the rural areas, people will not come to the cities, they will work there. They will be, what I feel is that they are the producers for the consumers of the cities. So their function will be remaining there and they will produce more and more goods. That is number one aspect. The other aspect that we are emphasizing, and you can appreciate that there are local level governments, but they are not very effective. If we could they are already there, but if we could strengthen them, they can contribute immensely on several things, including, for example, there are so many NGOs, INGOs, they go there, there is no coordinating body. Who will coordinate? It is the local government.
Local governments, yes.
Yeah? So if we strengthen the local governments, a lot of problem will be addressed, a lot of problem that we have, lack of coordination, duplication of work. So another dimension of our thinking is that can we strengthen the local governments so that they will be the engine for coordinating the local level.
That in Millennium Development Goal, some goals has been set for the alleviating poverty. In South Asia, the leaders has set some goals as SDG, and in other organizations also like a 2021 vision that they are trying to halve and completely alleviate the poverty from the globe, especially the least developed country. So in your view, what is the state of the poverty level in Bangladesh at this moment?
Well, actually, the other day, I was presenting a keynote paper in SARC Agricultural Center, and there I had mentioned, I had quoted one report from FAO, that the 2006 food insecurity report of FAO says that there has not been any progress of food security from the last 10 years, 1996 to 2006. Okay. So it looks that if we could not achieve any breakthrough in the last 10 years,
the situation is declining further.
The situation will remain the same for the next 10 years.
Yes.
So what I had suggested in that paper, and which I believe, is that we have to see the food security in a more broader term. Agricultural development alone will not do. We have to see agricultural development along with the allied other things, what the non-farm employment can do, how we can generate more and more employment and income of the rural poor, so that they can reduce their poverty. Okay. So it is not emphasizing only one side, that is agriculture. Agriculture is the mainstay, but along with the agriculture, there are other sectors also which needs to be equally focused. Yeah. And that in that paper, and which I believe is that there are a number of other things which we cover in the rural development should also be emphasized. For example, rural infrastructure.
Yes.
Yeah. Rural credit, education, health, rural health. All these are component of rural development. And the whole thing, if you go in a more...
What do you think in terms of meeting these challenges? Do you think there are huge dearth of resources?
I don't think so. Resources could also be a challenge. But one of the problems that I can see is that whatever we already have, it is not functioning properly. Okay. If they function properly, the present level of resources can also generate more result.
Okay, you just suggest me that which other organizations in Bangladesh context can be more strengthened
yes. for rural development.
For rural development.
For example, the government institution. Without government functioning, the government institution, you cannot.
Can you specify some of the
local governments, the district upajilla level institutions of the government. Okay. These are the things that upajilla level or even below level government functionaries, local governments, and then if they are better function, because there are a lot of allocations already made, there are a lot of programs already made, then they will bring better result that you already have. That's what I think. It's not only the problem of Bangladesh, it's the problem of many countries. Unless the government institutions are strong enough to implement the program which is spelled out in the budget, because we are spending a lot of money in our budget, but it is not generating the
how much money?
No, quite a big, I think. If you see in terms of percentage, it's quite a big amount. In every country, because rural development, poverty alleviation, a lot of money is I may not be able to say a figure, but substantial amount of money in each country. Okay. But if one country is doing a better...
is it from the domestic resources, or do you think that more international support and fund should be made for the development of the least developed countries?
Well, even if there is a more support from the international donors, this also has to be received by the local institutions. Unless the government institutions are strong enough to receive them, to utilize them.
Yes.
Just one-time resources will not do. So my idea, and the one that we are, emphasizing, is that unless you strengthen the government institutions at local as well as national level, your development will not be sustainable. And to make the development sustainable, it should be broad-based. Not emphasizing at one particular thing, but each has the contribution. That is the reason we are saying integrated rural development, integration of different sectors.
Okay, in headquarters headquarters view, yes. How do you look at the Bangladesh government approach to the rural development right now?
Well, Bangladesh has been a very pioneering from the very beginning, from 1960s onwards. There are a lot of very interesting experiments, interesting experiences, in different sectors. And recently, Bangladesh became the center of the whole world by Grameen Bank.
Yes.
So a lot of pioneering experiments are there. But what I think is, and there are genuine problems of Bangladesh. For example, you achieve certain very good, sort of result, but at for example, this year because of the flood, a lot of achievement has been gone.
Yes.
So you cannot avoid this kind of natural calamities and all this. Having said that, there are a lot of things to be improved, in my opinion. The improvement thing is to strengthen the government institutions. Unless the government institution played the pivotal role, the development process will not be sustainable. That is the bottom line that I have. And this is not only here. If you see the successful countries, for example, Malaysia or India, the government role, the government institution role is very strong. And they are playing the pivotal regulatory function.
Well, we're at the fag end of our interview session. Do you enjoy your stay in Bangladesh?
Very much. It is. I come from the similar
culture
and it's just near and
very near.
I feel at home. You look like a Nepali.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Durga Prasad Paudyal.
Thank you so much for calling me.
Yeah. Dear viewers, Dr. Paudyal has assumed the position of Director General of CIRDAP from 6 July 2004. Since then, he has been trying for the development of rural masses with his expertise on the local governance and decentralization. He said, "We're in the crossroad of prosperity and poverty. We have enough resources, but at the same time, we have vast amount of poor people." We hope member countries will look into the matters with their full utmost attention and importance. Hope to see you on the next episode. Till then, bye-bye.